That looks good. I'm nervous about it, like, it's been a minute since I was working on this one. I'm nervous about it, yeah, looking lopsided like this. I see it. I see it now. Okay. There we go. That's what that needed to be lowered. And this looks a little lopsided here. Because they're going out to the side. We want it to look natural. But the way I drew the lips is really stylized. Okay. Oh, I messed up. I did the medium mouth as the sad mouth, so I gotta redo it. Gosh darn it. This is actually supposed to be the kind of neutral mouth. Just slightly open neutral mouth. Well, let's undo all of it. Gosh, little mistakes like that. Like, they'll get you. The neutral mouth is fine, kind of, where it starts. Like, that's a fine neutral. That's, like, fine. I don't hate that. It's fucking... Okay, sad. Mid, open. Sad mouth. Which sad mouth looks a little crunkly here. Looks like a little scrungly. A little crunchy, a little scrungly. Yeah, that got all twisted around. Annoying. Okay, we can clean this up though. Untangle it. See what's making it a little scrungly. Just the way this is folding here. So it needs to go further down. Make a more dramatic, serious, sad face. I feel like we're gonna need to move this around just ever so slightly. Because that's looking pretty smooth for the bottom lip. The top lip's looking pretty gnarled. Pretty gnarled. Yeah. I don't know what's happening here, but we should maybe... Yeah. It's getting stretched somewhere. I don't like that stretching. It's making the lines come off as blurry. And just ends up looking poor quality. Looks a little cleaner. Okay, let's put that bottom lip back up. Let's match these two. And clean the skin behind them. Because that also affects how they're coming off. Big pouty lip. I feel like we could even make the upper lip a little bit smaller and then stretch it more when it comes sad. And push some of this back in. And make the bottom lip look fatter. Because like when somebody's given like a pouty look, they push out their bottom lip. That does not look good. That does not look good. Shit. Hey Misty, Happy New Year. How are you? I didn't notice you came in. I need to turn back on my notification noises. I don't know. I don't know what I did to turn it off, but I need to turn it back on so I can hear when you chat me. I'm trying to figure out. I hadn't been working on this for a little while. I'm making this bottom lip look so lumpy on accident. I'm trying to make it look pouty. And part of what's getting in the way is the skin. It's underneath these lips. It's weird looking too. How are you, Misty? What are you up to? How was your New Year's? Do you have a good Christmas? I didn't like that. I think this needs more meshing. I think we're not getting enough different types of articulation. I also think the meshing's like, I was about to do amaranths for the family. Need to peel the potatoes for lunch. I like potatoes. Give me some of your tasty taters, Misty. Put them in my mouth. Give me all your potatoes. Sure. You're gonna give me all your potatoes? Thank you. I was gonna starve. No, I won't. It's you who's going to starve now, Misty. You're gonna be potato-less. It's been a while since I meshed. This looks so unclean. This looks so unclean. Filthy, disgusting, grody. It's okay. We have a big bag. Yeah, well, I have a big bag, so I could eat all of your potatoes. Raw, like I'm troll. I'll just go into your house and eat them all. Num 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 num. But yeah, I'll be back real quick, 15-20. Okay. Yep. I look forward to your return. Man. Alright. See if that helps some of this meshing problem, because this thing looking chunky. Chunky puffs. I like my chunky puffs chunky, not my cereal chunky. Ed boy. The story is not yet told, Ed boy. This is a smiley face. We gotta do one for Smiley. Smiley time. Everybody be happy. Tee haha. Hee haha. Alright, we gotta get all these meshes. Fucking shit. All these bitches need to go in a different direction. They looking scrunchy as fuck. Tangled. Unselaged. This is tedious, but I feel like it's the only way to make it look good is the tedium. The tedium. The tedious. My little itty bitty tediums. Don't want, no. Itty bitty, teeny weeny, short dick, man, don't want. Itty bitty, teeny weeny. You know, chat, when you really think about it, since clitorises are just essentially proto-penises before they form, if you think about it, everyone had a micro penis at one point, chat. How about you put that to heart? How about you think about that for a moment before you start judging someone on the size of their wiener? You look down in your pants and think about your own micro penis. Search your soul. Start digging in your butt. Start searching your pants, chat. And your heart. God. Think about how it affect other people, chat. Body shaming's never cool. Just like slut shaming, it's not cool. Okay, happy. Look at you, happy. Oh my god. Oh, my screen needs to be moved over. Bloop. Happy girl. Don't want. Itty bitty short dick man. Oh, someone's so happy. Someone's so sad. Happy, sad. Happy, sad. You want to make them even. Happy, sad. Happy, sad. Happy, sad. Happy, sad. Alright. Sad face, slightly open. Sad face, slightly open. No. So sad. So terribly, awfully sad. Oh man, this mouth shape. I'm not going to do mouth shapes like this again. I'm going to extend the drawing to fit a more natural shape if I'm going to do this shape again. Because it is much harder when you're working with like a shape that's not more naturalistic shape. Stylized shapes are harder to form like this. Okay. Okay, chat. We learned our lesson. Don't want stylized face shape unless we're ready to do the work. And I don't want to do the work. It's hard. Okay, chat. Fine. I'll do the work. Whatever. Shut up. I'm stupid. There's like a bunch of stuff pulling on that. Yeah. Unnatural. Unnatural. I don't like any of that. We're just gonna start that over. We thought we were smooth with that one too. Yeah, look at that. Look at that travesty. We'll do it. We'll do it one at a time. Just like we did on the other side. Okay. That thing is connected to so many different... Okay. Bring this down. That's the underneath. That's why it's getting tangled. It's getting tangled over this line. And so... getting blurred out. It's also getting overly stretched. Where it shouldn't be. Oh, chat. Oh, chat. I do declare I'm a little bitch when it comes to doing extra work. It is so hard. I don't want to. away. I don't like it. It's stupid and I don't wanna. That's why come. That's why it's come. You ever thought of that? Hmm? Weisenheimer? Some whiteisms. Looking. You're on thin ice, buddy. Get a load of this guy. That's okay. I see what's stretching it and made it look so crazy bad. I should bring all these in first. This one's like miraculously tangled in a weird spot. And I don't like what it's doing, so we're gonna delete it. Because it's... We're just gonna move it over. Make it more even. Meshing here. Stop it. Oh my god. Okay. That should help. We see how much more flexible that is now. That looks so much more flexible. Without all these weird, like... No, it'll serve us a lot more when we're doing a new warp. Oh man. Okay, we need to bring all this in though. Not like that though. Not like that though. God damn. I don't know what that is. It's kind of freaking me out over here. Kind of making me uncomfortable. God. What are you doing? It looks flatter on this side, and I want to match that shape. Ah! This is overness. This is over meshing. It's over meshing. We're kind of doing silly things here. But it's been a minute. It's been a minute. We haven't meshed or like done any rigging in a couple months. It's been a couple months since November, October, end of October. Man, thank God we're just like doing this with the most patient, kind people as possible. Because if it was someone else who was really mean, and I would have not got these commissions. I need to get my shit done. I need to get my shit done. I need to stop making excuses. I've been a sad little non-commissioner being bad about my shit. And I don't have an excuse. I was bad at it. Just been being bad. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh man. The eyes. I think that's all I really need to do left. Anyway. Let's finish these mouth forms and do the eyes. And if she wants me to do her new hairstyles, I can do those later. Okay. Let's get the skin moved. Mouth skin. It's also going to clear up, like, what we can and can't see. Because, look, we are going to need to... Well, making the mouth smaller could help a little here. And then another thing could be making the teeth and all that stuff underneath bigger. I'd also give it some bounciness, I feel. Like, I feel like that's what was lacking in my other in some of my other models. Okay. Is more just bounciness. Shit. The lip skin will cover that. I think covering your mistakes is probably one of the bigger things when it comes to this. Okay. Bottom lip skin. Oh, that's what this is for. Okay. Put that thing away. Yeah, now you can see the inside of the mouth. Okay. It didn't take that long. The potato peeling. Will you peel my potatoes too? I need my potatoes peeled, please. I'm so poor and it's so cold. Please, sir, may you peel my potatoes? I'm going to starve if they go unpeeled much longer. I will die of malnourishment. I'm going to simply pass away. You guys? Oh my god. Okay, fine. You don't have to peel my potatoes. You don't have to peel mine. I just, you know, I guess I never had anyone who wanted to peel my potatoes, you know? It's late night. I only came on, hi. What? No way. I was just in your channel goofing off. And you come over here? I was only getting on for a minute to do some rigging. So we were working on this model for a little while. Hi, gang. Hi. It do be late for me, but I'm glad I could catch your stream. You know, I hope I don't come off as like going over there and being like, I am promoting myself on your channel. I definitely don't want to mention that I'm like, you know, doing much, but I do want to talk about drawing with you. Cause it's so fun to draw and see other people's art. You know? So hi gang, I'm Fallopian Noob. I am the whip wizard. You're doing all that. You're just talking about art with people too. Yeah. Oh my god, your model is so cute. I love the hat. Thank you. I made it myself. If you guys want a model tour, I'll give you a tour of all my models that I made. I forgot to readjust something real quick. All my Pokemons. I'm rigging a model for a friend that she commissioned me like 4 months ago, and I've been having a bit of a time. I drew and handcrafted this model by myself, based off her model design. It's super fun, and it moves like this so far. You can see how it like has similar movements to the one I'm using currently, but yeah. Champagne's model. I'm working on some basic mouth movements, and it's really tedious and time consuming. Well, your emotes look so good, Neon. How did your stream go? How do you feel? Are you having a good New Year's, everybody? I'm so excited. I hope 2026 is treating everyone so well so far. I hope that everyone is happy and excited and healthy and looking forward to a good new year. That's amazing. Have you been rigging for long? It looks interesting to get into, but I don't know if I've had enough practice to learn myself. So I did some coding for school, and over the summer I graduated doing like some more technical programs for my school with my bachelor's, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to my master's, and I want to kind of work on just like learning stuff by myself. So over the summer, I just watched some YouTube tutorials. I was like, I'm gonna start streaming, And so I started streaming in July. And in July, I made a, here, I'll show you my first. I made a PNG tuber. So I was just learning some basic JavaScript and stuff like that, which is fun. I mean, we could all learn better JavaScript, but it wasn't quite as good for me as like it just didn't feel as artful. It's cool like to learn. So I was like, well, essentially what JavaScript is, you're setting parameters, but it's very mathematical. So if you think about setting like this goes in here and this is output, that's kind of what rigging's like, in a very like more like artistic way, I feel. So it came more intuitively than you'd think. Here, let's see. So here's my first model that I made. And I made this as a PNG tuber, and then I had so many pieces to it that I was like, you know what? I could just learn how to rig it. And it's not as easy as you think. You can see how the mouth doesn't move very well. But and how my body jiggles instead of just my boobs. I have a full I couldn't figure out the body jiggle, so I mean the boob jiggles. I just ended up having this silly like wiggly body. But this is the first model. We love a full body jiggle. Yes, we do love a full body jiggle. I forgot to read your message from earlier. So far great, can't complain, hope all is well. Thank you, Moonlight. That's so amazing. Have you been rigging for long? Okay, and I don't know. Patience to learn myself. You could totally learn. You could totally learn. The stream went well. Took a bit of a break, and the fireworks going off outside my house. I love fireworks. So this was the first one I learned on, and I made this in July. Like maybe maybe a month into learning. And so that was fun. And so I decided to try to make a more intensive one. And so I made this. And so this is my second model that I made. I don't use her as much because I like my chibi model. But this is Noob. And my hat's name is Boshi. And so this is the second one I learned how to make. And the layers are pretty layering here. We got all the fingernails and rings and fun stuff. Yeah. It was interesting, and I was just really excited to learn. But you can see how the boobs jiggle a little on their own now. And the body only jiggles a little, it like wiggles. So I still had some learning to do. So then, Big Melons, thank you, Misty. And I decided to go on to my third model, which was a redesign of the body of this one. So I redrew the body so I could have it more modular. And I decided if I'm a wizard, I can get into some magical potions and accidentally get turned into a dragon or a demon or whatever. And I have plans to make a ghost version, a goblin version, just like every single version of my character, my OC. But yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's more like if coding was just like slides, like sliders instead of like setting parameters, But it's so fun. And Live 2D makes it pretty easy. So, we can stick with this one for a little while. I haven't used her in a minute. What's this one? Oh, I forgot. This is a joke one. This is just Boshi as a pizza. Pizza Boshi. I was just really obsessed with the how to draw of it all, you know? And I think like it just kept inspiring me to make new versions and have fun with it. So let me go back to Live 2D. Let me take you back to Live 2D. So when you're doing a model, you have like all of the pieces over here on the side. Let's see. So you have all the pieces on the side, and they all correspond to an image. Like a Photoshop image. It has like every single layer. And you want to have like just really good naming convention. So I have like the head, the glasses, the eyebrows, the right eye, the left eye, the nose, the lips, everything's named and put in a little folder. And once you have it in your like folders and you've drawn every single piece of the model, like see even this bra, here I'll show you. This bra is removable. You know, let's put it back. And then this arm is completely detachable. The sleeve is. So a lot of those things like are a little unnecessary unless I want to code for them to make like a little extra. But when you're making it, there's some shortcuts. And you'll come in and you'll mesh it all, which it looks like this when it's finally meshed. It's a little scary at first. It looks like a bunch of pens and like a doll. And those are just all points where you can deform the model. So deforming the model just like means you can take any shape and change how it looks. So let's see. Let's take the main face and let's take its warp deformer. And so I put these little boxes around everything. So when I want to make it change shape, I will. Here's the these four little sliders. These show the angles in which I'm going to have the inputs go at. So if we're looking bottom left, I warp the deformer to look like it's like kind of like looking downward by changing the shape of the face inward and outward. So it's more dramatic. And that's all. It's just one item at a time. And that's kind of like, it just takes a lot of time and patience to learn. But once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy actually. It's just about like knowing how something can turn in space. And yeah, how to like trick the eye. So let's see. The glasses. If they're going bottom left, I want them to shape so the right side is a little bit like bigger. And the left side's a little bit smaller. So we shrink that side down and foreshorten it like this. Yeah. Boop. And it becomes like more dynamic in the way that it is growing and changing through space. So we made this one eyelid bigger and this one eyelid smaller. And now it looks more dramatic. And we just do the same thing over here. And you just take the time to finesse it to make it look perfect. And give it depth. But before all that, it's just kind of like a flat shape. Just the drawing we did. And modeling and code, like practicing this and setting all the inputs, the parameters, is all you gotta do to make a really good model. And you just gotta, know how things change in space. So, we kind of went through the whole face here and made sure that all these elements are like changing and growing, but I feel like the ears still need a little work in the background. And the mouth is a little low here, so I want this ear to get a little bit smaller when the head is looking down. So we're gonna shrink it a little and make it look like it's a little bit further away. So now it's smaller. And that will give us like a more dynamic feeling. So we should do the same on the other ear. Okay. Give me the ear. Foreshorten. Smaller. Now this ear looks much bigger. And that gives more of a, like, a falling back into space look, which we love. A lot of tweaks and adjustments. Yeah. Yeah. That's the whole name of the game when it comes to rigging. I feel like this still needs a little more drama. Dramamine. Gosh darn it. I don't like any drama. Freaking dramatic. So what kind of games do you, Neon, if you're still there, what kind of games do you like playing normally? Because I saw you guys playing Phasmo, right? Yesterday. And you were doing some art today. Oh shit, that's not what I wanted. I'm kind of a variety streamer. My art has been like kind of taking a back seat to just goofing off lately. So I haven't been as on like doing the whole streamer thing lately, but it could be really hard to be consistent as a streamer, especially when sometimes you're you just want to relax and not focus on chatting all the time. It can be a little hard. Socializing as a person who loves to stay inside, I was like, oh yeah, that'd be awesome if I just talked to people all day, every day. Yeah, usually either horror or farming games, but my game tastes are all over the place. I love. Why isn't there enough spooky farmer games? Where's the like spooky Stardews of the world? I want like Fae Farm, but it's like Halloween themed. Where's that? And you have little monsters you farm instead of cows and chickens. Oh, is that Power World? Did I just call? No, Power World's not scary, but it's kind of like. But yes, there's definitely a need to be more scary farm games. There's a few on my wish list that have no release dates yet, but I'm waiting. Yeah, I get that. I have Fields of Mystria. I played a few hours. I want to finish it. I played Stardew, but not for more than 10 hours. And I need to finish it. The last one I played was, what the fuck was it called? It was about like a princess, like that got lost in time. And you're like, it was more of an action adventure game than it was a farming game, but you still built a fort and like had villagers and stuff. I'd have to look at my Switch. But I also played Fae Farm. And I put a good few hours into Fae Farm and Animal Crossing and stuff. But I just got Pokemon ZA. And that's been okay. It feels like half of a video game. You know, I wish it was like more than what it is. But that's okay. We live and we learn, you know. Not everything's gonna be perfect. The mouth looks like it's like not turning sideways really well in space, so we're gonna change it up. Also, we want to make sure. One thing that I always forget about with these deformers and things, if you don't have them set to 0, and you're changing the deformers in other areas, they'll get all tangled. Yeah. Oh, did you mean Terraria? Is that the spooky farming game? Oh, the game where you have magic and stuff. You know, the only Terraria I actually played was the night I played with you, Misty. Yeah, it's not spooky. But it's fun still. I need to take the time just to play it by myself. And like learn it. I've been sorely lacking, like, devoting myself to any one thing. More boss and progress simulator. Yeah, just for those who like a little grinding. Ain't nothing wrong with a little grinding. I got a freaking battle axe to grind. Ready for battle. Okay, that looks a little more natural. You want it to look like it's naturally turning through space, so you don't want to have a lot of weird movement. Okay. We'll go back to mouse movements. I feel like it's called like life something. Dimension. It's like princess in another dimension or something. Oh, it might be on my wish list even. I'm so brain dead when it comes to names, dude. Where did I put my swage? My swage. Oh well. Eyeball movements. I think the other thing that's really hard when you're doing rigging is learning how to make the eyes blink and the mouth move. I think a lot of people go to the mouth and eye movements and get really frustrated and end up quitting before they really had the time to teach themselves how to do it fully. This needs more meshing. This looks a little too basic. So meshing is, these are all the anchor points in which when you deform something, they'll be pulling the image to kind of deform it. So meshing's important. To have really good meshing that's super tight on the image that can give really good structure to whatever you're making. I feel like I don't like this part. So we're gonna get rid of it. And that one too. I feel like this feels more like Illustrator. Like meshing feels like making like points on an Illustrator image. You know. Okay. Here we could do an eyeball open and close. This is the left eye. This is the character's left eye. Our right, character's left. And that matters because it's labeled that way. So left eye, deformer. And we're going to do a left eye open, deformer, top lash. We'll start with the liner. 0.0 is supposed to be close and 0.1 is open. So we'll try to make 0.0 as closed. And it looks funky. And you won't be used to it. But if you just slowly take your time and take each section one at a time, you can lower it to where you need it to go. So that's probably where we want the eye to be closed. Closed eye. This will need to go away. So we're just going to shrink some of this down. And you'll see why. But since this is on the top layer, it will cover whatever's on the bottom. And when we try to close the other lid, this will just be hanging down. So I'm just probably going to take this like that and kind of tuck it up. Tuck it on up. See? And that's, once we have the parameter on that, we can show the progress. Let's close, and I'll be open. And now we just gotta do that with everything. But progress is good, dude. Makes us feel accomplished. What have you been playing lately? Misty, what have you been playing lately? I need game suggestions. I've started like 10 games on stream and still haven't finished any of them. Okay. Except for I kept doing all the silly games like Dinosaur with Double D's and stuff. Those are the only repeat offenders, is like Date Everything and Dinosaur with Double D's. Okay, move those down. Then we go to the eyelid. Besides, I mean, we could just do some Terraria if you're still so down. I feel like the only time I play something like, I feel like my streams are so based off of like having friends and hanging out and like being part of like streamer communities and like having collabs that it becomes like, I feel like it becomes a little bit of a chore and I rely on that a little too much to like pick out games for myself. Cause like I'm always playing with my sibling or I'm always playing with another streamer that like I feel like I rely on that a lot, you know, to be like part of my content is like making goofy jokes at people. Oops, we messed up. We forgot to set the parameter. Okay. Okay. Now we can do that. I don't want like relying on playing like games with friends to be like my only way I can stream, you know? Cuz then I end up like not streaming because I don't have people to play with, you know? And I want to stand on my own and start like branching out a little. It was a good like way to start streaming. But I feel like the more I get into it, the more I need to like, you know, do my own thing. If anyone in chat has any music suggestions, I'm down to like check stuff out. You know, as long as it's appropriate for stream. Which, you know, could, I don't know. I do a lot of weird shit on my stream, so who am I to say what's good and not for a stream? Okay, let's do I feel like the way I'm doing this is making this look pretty easy. But for real, the struggle is so real when you first start doing this. Okay. Next. Getting pretty close. Let's fucking go. Let's put these glasses away because I'm tired of running into them. Okay. This is the ball of the eye. Nice balls. We're just gonna shrink it down. And like drag it down a little to fit in place. So it'll shrink when the blink happens. Balls. Yeah. You didn't answer my question, Misty. You're in trouble. How dare you? This is a good look for her. Let's see if it looks absolutely insane. Oh, we got one blink. We got one blinker now. That doesn't look half bad, actually. I was away, sorry. No, you're so good. I was asking if you have any game suggestions, because I've been feeling kind of like all I do is play games with friends, and I haven't like had a good game just like on my own in a while in stream, you know? Been relying on all the friends to and collabs to keep me busy. I was having an earnest, heartfelt moment with you, and you weren't even there. My God. Oh my God. Keep playing Cyberpunk. Okay. Yeah, I need to finish it. I've been really bad about finishing stuff, though, too. Good game to play alone on stream. Yeah. I feel like shoot 'em ups always make me so, like... I'm like, damn. I was really just shooting guys, wasn't I? I'm so violent and scary. I feel bad. I kill their little virtual... Like, I'm killing their virtual husbands. And their virtual dads never come home. You know? People are little virtual orphans because of me. Yeah, I'm killing waifus and because I'm a shooter person and it's so mean. I don't want to be a shooterer. No, I don't mind at all. Time to die. Guess I'm... Well, Here I go killing again. Oh no. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Bloop. Blop, blip, bloop, bloop, bloop. Did you get anything for Christmas, Misty? You get anything good? Well, I got Pokemon ZA. What else did I get for Christmas? I got Castlevania Curse of Darkness for the PS2. I got the first two Assassin's Creed for the PS3, and I got Super Smash Bros. Brawl for the Wii. And I got a lot of snacks. I'm a big fan of snacks, so it's nice when people, feed me. I never put a parameter on that eyelash. Okay. Where exactly do those fuckers sit on the eye? Right at the lid. I got a brush from my mom, and my friend gifted me Fields of Mystria. Oh, is that... I don't know if Fields of Mystria is 2-player. I was gonna say, we could do more farming. Be a couple of little farmers. Okay. My farming pill. As long as I don't make you rap ever again, I feel like you might be okay with farming with me. Do you have Stardew? You know what I really want to play that I haven't had anyone to play with? Is I've been waiting for someone who wants to do It Takes Two or a split fiction playthrough with me. And I need it. I have a need. A mighty need. That looks a little crunchy, but we'll take a look. We'll take a gander at that, baby. It doesn't look too bad, actually, now that you're away from it. And nobody's gonna be like, what the fuck is that? What is this? This looks sloppy. This second-rate fucking rigger did this shit. What kind of fucking... Nobody's gonna go in there and do that. Maybe the person that paid for it might. But I don't even think that, someone who doesn't rig is gonna know the difference, really. Now, will I be will I be like a laughing stock of the rigger community? Yeah, maybe. But, you know what? I've been worse things. I've been worse things. Okay. I am cringe and I am free. Wee. Something else I really want to do this time is make these twinkle and kind of see if I can get them to do like a little movement inside the eye. That was always the plan. That looks good though. That's pretty smooth looking. Let's get up a little bit closer. That's hella smooth, chat. Oh my god, that looks so freaking sweet. Oh my god. Oh, I forgot to make a lurk redeem. I need to do that. Okay. I remember what discouraged me from this. Crosscode, not spooky or nor scary. It is not spooky nor scary. Let's look it up. We're gonna check it out real quick. Un momento. Un momento, por favor. What's it called? Crosscode. Crosscode. Cancel. It's my alert box. Where do I have that? Yeah, it's this. Whoa, that's not what I want to show you. Okay. Oh, okay. You really like pixel games. I will say that, Misty. But you're pretty good at like picking them, so. Crosscode. There we go. This looks cute. Whoops. Whoops. Lots of puzzles. Yeah, you're a puzzle lover. I don't know. Sometimes I just find puzzles so puzzling, you know? Sometimes I get out-puzzled. I'm just not a big puzzler. I want everything to be easy and happy and... Is that so wrong? No, puzzles are fun. Maybe I need to do more. Maybe I need to be like... #1 puzzle girly. At my puzzle game. Oh, drama. What was the fucking game? Oh, I remember. I remember the fucking game. Yeah, this is what I was playing. Huge update. This is what I was playing.
Hey everyone.
Before I started streaming. I fucking put like 200 hours into this like so quick.
Yes, so Fantasy
It's
Life
so
I
cute.
released on the Nintendo Switch just before the Switch 2 released.
It was
So
fun.
What we've done is that firstly we'll have the review for the Switch 1 version, which will go into detail about what this game actually is, and then after that we'll have a little.
Oh, I love the music even. It's just like boo-doo-doo, boo-doo-doo.
This Switch 1 review was written
It's
by
so
the
cute.
wonderful Kate Gray over on NintendoLife.com and has been adapted into this video by me.
Yeah, it doesn't really have puzzles or is hard at all. That's why it was fun. It was so silly.
But not a bestseller by any means. Yet, its dedicated fan base has been proselytizing about the game for well over a decade, and it's those fans that have been hoping for the sequel for just as long. As a result, this game isn't afraid
I
to
would,
borrow
when I
heavily
get my
from
Switch
what the
2,
original laid down.
I would
Luckily,
start over
far from being a shallow,
and do this again.
imitation of its predecessor, Fantasy Life I manages to update and revitalize the formula for the modern cozy gaming era. After a long and hand-holdy tutorial, you'll be thrown into
It's
the
so
meat
good.
of what the series has to offer, choosing a life, a class, and start doing stuff with it. Crafting classes lets you make tools, furniture, weapons, etc. Gathering classes are all about finding the materials to feed into the crafting classes.
Oh, I'm
which
sure that's
becomes
too
easier
quiet.
the
Hold
higher
on.
level your tools are. And combat classes, which uses weapons and armor made from the crafting classes, lets you defeat monsters and gather parts for, you guessed it, the crafting classes. It's a beautifully woven
There you go.
ecosystem with plenty of synergy, and swapping between lives is what most of the
There you
game
go.
is about. So far, this is more or less exactly how Fantasy Life was, and you'd be forgiven for thinking that this was just the original game with a fresh coat of paint and a new story. And well, yes, in a lot of ways that matter, it is. But also no, it's been over 10 years since the original, and in that time, we've had Animal Crossing New Horizons and Zelda Breath of the Wild, both of which
New
have heavily
Horizons is
influenced
just
two
like
new side plots.
not
Dino
that
Mosia,
different from the
Breath of Wild, like
original
open world
Animal
with
Crossings.
towers and shrines that work exactly like you'd expect them to, and Mystery, a New Horizons like village that you can terraform and decorate to your heart's delight. Does that sound derivative? Sure. But they did a great job with both, and be honest, who doesn't want a Zelda meets Animal Crossing that's actually good? If
Well,
Level 5 has struck upon a winning formula, we can't fault them for it.
You know someone friendly to play with? Is me. What game? What was the other game you're thinking of?
Even if we are a little bit surprised by all of the similarities. Green glowing shrines with strange, unpronounceable names, a giant elderly tree being who begs you to climb into its mouth to fight off the bad guys making him sick. Come on, Level 5, you didn't even try to change the homework you copied. There are plenty of excellent quality of life changes over the original too. The ability to swap lives at any point, rather than having to go all the way back to the guild office, is a
Yeah, they
particular
copied
highlight,
Breath of
but
the Wild.
there are also rideable mounts, fast travel, and swappable companions. All in all, it's a much smoother game to play than the original Fantasy Life. Fantasy Life I is the kind of game that lays out 10 billion choices in front of you and says, go wild, and one of those choices is use cash farming exploits to buy everything you'll ever need and never touch a hoe again. Those 10 billion choices have the ability to overwhelm, especially with all the interdependencies between lives, but remarkably it all feels quite zen doing your little minigames and slowly crawling your way up to the new skill tree. Besides, if you fancy a break from the lives, you can just switch over to the almost entirely separate Ginormosia to wander the lands, find towers,
That's
destroy
true.
puzzles, complete side
You
quests,
do get to
and
do like
generally
just like
gain a
little
colossal
tiny
pile of XP,
goofy
none of
things.
which have any
It's
bearing
fun.
on the main story. You could also head over to Mystery and your little village and terraform to your heart's content, decorating your lands with fountains and benches like a benevolent city councillor with an infinite budget. You could crack out tools and
Mm-hmm. What was the? There was one that like I was watching a bunch of the console wars. Boom, boom, boom. Nobody cares anymore. Is it this guy?
RPGs are one of the most influential genres
Mm.
in gaming.
I'm so
They
lazy right now. We're
improved
just gonna
many of the
chat.
most beloved and acclaimed games ever
We're
made,
just chilling.
and there aren't many other genres that have been around for this long and been talked about this much.
I'm gonna do
And
some
yet,
lazy ass
I
content.
don't think
gave
most
up on my
people
work.
understand this genre very well. A lot of people don't know where it came from, how it's actually defined, how it changed, what caused those changes.
Dude, RPGs are the
subgenres
only
emerged,
kind of game I
when
really
the
want to
genre
play
struggled and
for the
when it
longest time.
prospered.
Like,
What were the biggest
ever since I
series
played, like-
and what happened to them? What games influenced other games? and more.
Ever since I've been playing games, like
RPG history
first one was
is
Pokemon.
complicated. It
When it
stretches
came
about
out.
50 years now, and a lot can happen in 50 years. So this video will aim to cover those years, all of them, going from the humblest of beginnings to the troubles of today. And along the way, I hope the RPG genre might make a
Jam,
little
I
bit
played
more
like half the
sense.
games that they show.
There is a lot that can be learned from the history of RPGs, and its lessons still seem relevant today.
Star Wars.
After all, this
SWTOR.
is one of the few genres that hasn't simply evolved ever further away from its origins, but has instead often tried to evolve towards its starting point. RPG history still matters to RPGs. It's still shaping the present, and will
Baldur's
still
Gate.
play a part in its future.
Fallout.
So, let's talk history, starting with origins and definitions.
You know, I didn't see any Japanese RPGs.
The most common definition of an RPG is a game where you roleplay. But while this is simple and concise, it does have one slight problem, which is that no one ever agrees what exactly role-playing means in the context of video games.
It's not an RPG. Skyrim's not an
What do you
RPG.
mean?
That's funny.
Someone is probably thinking right now.
That's funny.
Role-playing is obvious. It means a game where you play a role. So, I guess a game like Surgeon Simulator, a game about playing the role of a surgeon. Badly. Or Euro Truck Simulator, a
Damn.
game about playing the role of a truck driver.
I do want to
Probably
play Euro
also
Truck
badly.
Simulator and
Except
the
these
surgeon
aren't
game.
RPGs, so maybe it's about playing the role of a defined character, like in Uncharted, where you
man.
play the role of
Wait,
treasure
hold on.
hunter
I
Nathan
gotta burp.
Drake, or
Are
Pac-Man,
you ready?
where you play the role of Mr. Pac-Man.
Excuse me.
But these also aren't RPGs, so maybe role-playing has to involve you creating your own character, like in The Sims, or Street Fighter 6. Okay, so maybe role-playing needs a character, but you also need to be able to make choices about them that have consequences. Like in the Choices Matter genre of games, such as Life is Strange or Telltale's The Walking Dead, which are all about choices that supposedly matter, and yet still aren't RPGs. So, if none of these games count, what exactly does it mean to play a role?
Damn,
Well,
that's true.
not a
I never
lot,
thought about
because
it, but like,
technically
it
almost every
seems
game
kind of
involves
arbitrary
playing
now that
some
this
kind of
guy's
role.
talking about
Whether
it.
you are a cruel and unseen god, or a deranged theme park designer, or the latest generic action
Deranged.
hero. As one of the world's most famous role players once wrote, all the world's a stage, and all men and women are merely players. So, in many ways, we're all playing a role all of the time, and if
That's
you
true.
disagree, take it up with Shakespeare, and good luck. He's dead. But if playing a role means so little and
The brain.
applies to so much, then clearly a better definition is needed. So let's go back to where the term began, because defining what an RPG is isn't that complex, but it does require context. In 1972,
Damn.
Atari made
We're
Pong,
learning today,
and with
chat.
it, the commercial gaming industry was
Kind of
born.
learn.
But in 1974, a very different game was made that was arguably much more influential.
Neon's a crab.
Dungeons & Dragons was created by Gary
No, they
Gygax and Dave
disappeared.
Arneson, and it wasn't a video game, but it did have a massive impact on gaming. Inspired by miniature wargames, which both Gygax and Arneson were avid players of, D&D was the first successful RPG of its kind, and it set itself apart from earlier wargames by focusing on players creating and role-playing as individual characters instead of controlling entire armies. One player then took the role of the Dungeon Master to act as a sort of storytelling referee as they
D&D's the
worked
first.
alongside the other players in a form of collaborative storytelling. This is somewhat similar to what might be seen in other more traditional forms of role-playing, and yet where D&D differed from these was in its use of rules and stats-based systems that were governed by dice rolls, just like in miniature wargames. So basically, D&D took the more abstract concept of creating your own character and playing a role, and combined it with the less abstract rules and statistics of wargaming to create one of the first true role-playing games, or RPGs, of its kind. Many more would follow in D&D's footsteps, including later and quite different editions of D&D itself, but Dungeons & Dragons has always remained the most popular tabletop RPG, and its impact on video games was immediate, with examples of games it inspired showing up in less than a year from its release.
Damn, that's crazy.
And perhaps unsurprisingly, these games took D&D's focus on creating a character that players would play the role of, as well as the use of rules, statistics, and dice rolls to govern gameplay, to create the computer RPG genre. Technological limitations and differences between the two mediums meant the way in which computer RPGs did this wasn't quite the same as their inspirations, but there was still a clear intent to replicate their experience and to maintain that core defining aspect of combining a focus on player characters with rules and stats-based gameplay. And this is the part which has remained true over all time periods and across all the very varied subgenres to provide us with the most accurate definition of an RPG as the term is actually used. So, RPGs are games which focus on player
Cyberpunk.
characters through features such as character creation, dialogue choices, narrative choice and consequence, and other types of player character expression, and combine this with statistical rules and gameplay, such as experience points and leveling up, character skills and stats, loot progression, and combat involving statistical calculations like hit chance or variations in damage numbers. Still, there are at least some grey areas to even this definition, because while all RPGs focus on player characters, they might do this in different ways, with some characters even being predefined. And RPGs can also feature multiple player characters while still counting as an RPG, as long as the game maintains a smaller, more personal scale like that seen in tabletop RPGs. What's more, what exactly is meant by statistical-based gameplay also isn't always
fucking
clear,
orc.
as
Stab
over
that
time, many action
motherfucker.
RPGs have emerged
Stab
that place
that
less
son of
focus
a
on numbers and
bitch.
decision-making, while non-RPGs have increasingly incorporated statistical elements to include features like increased player retention and money-sucking microtransactions. I mean, to provide players with a greater
Money
sense
suckers.
of pride and accomplishment. Still, the best way to understand the differences in gameplay between RPGs and non-RPGs is again to
Slurp
look at the
up the
context in which the
money.
genre emerged.
Give me all the money,
In the
please.
70s and 80s, arcades ruled the industry, and when consoles arrived, they were designed around and marketed as being like arcades but for the home. Video games of this era were therefore heavily based around the pay-to-play monetization of arcades, meaning they were challenging, replayable, included features like high scores, and most important of all, they aimed to be purely skill-based. Things like numbers, ambiguity, and randomness in gameplay systems would therefore be seen as bad and likely unfair, and instead, skill in these games was derived by mechanical execution, something that was purely in the player's control. Meanwhile, early mainframe and personal computer games had a completely different set of technical limitations, being generally far inferior to the more powerful arcade machines, and they also had none of the quarter-hungry monetization, meaning they were often radically different to their arcade rivals. A lot of the most famous computer games from this era were text-based adventure games, like Colossal Cave Adventure, or Zork, which focused on using text descriptions and player inputs to create vast simulations of virtual worlds for players to explore and adventure through. In these games, mechanical execution barely featured at all, and instead the challenge came from having to solve puzzles and explore virtual spaces, things that tested your brain rather than your fingers. And for early RPGs that were heavily inspired by Dungeons & Dragons but also by other computer games of the same era, it was through the use of rule systems and numbers that made this decision-making based gameplay possible. Lastly, there is one final piece of the RPG puzzle that helps explain where this genre came from and why it's had such enduring appeal. And it's something I first saw alluded to in Matt Barton and Shane Stack's book, Dungeons and Desktops, which is the role that J.R.R. Tolkien played on the emergence of the RPG genre, not just by influencing Dungeons & Dragons, but also by influencing many computer RPG creators directly, something which can be seen in many early RPG game titles, like Orthanc, Moria, and even Akalabeth, which is a reference to the Silmarillion. Still, Tolkien's influence may go even beyond this, because as fantastic an author as he might have been, there was one thing Tolkien was even better at than writing: world building. Middle-earth set itself apart from so many other fantasy creations through its depth, its attention to detail, and its sense of mythology and history, and Middle-earth left a lasting impression on many of Tolkien's readers, which many early RPG developers clearly were. And so, when these early RPG creators came to make their games, they may have been playing more than just the
Hi,
role
Chunks.
of a game
Hi,
developer.
Plum.
They
I didn't
might
know you
also have been
sneaked in
emulating
here.
one of their biggest inspirations
Snuck
by
What's up?
building worlds.
We were rigging, and
This
now
idea
I'm
of a virtual
like
world that can be
taking
explored
care of
and
stuff
adventured
while we
in
watch
and
stuff.
believed in has been an important
Late
and maybe
night.
underappreciated part of
What
the
time is
RPG
it?
genre ever since its
You
inception.
gotta stream soon.
And so,
You-
role-playing video games
We go to
are
your
games which were
stream.
inspired by and descended from
Like,
Dungeons and Dragons, as well as
your
other tabletop
content.
RPGs. And they are games which combine a focus on player characters with statistical gameplay systems. And maybe, just maybe, when everything goes well, and for the right player at the right time, they are games about building worlds for players to adventure and lose themselves within. Which is a nice sentiment, I hear you say, but what was the first RPG? That's always the important question, right? History, much like YouTube comment sections, is really just about who was first anyway,
Plan.
apparently.
But what was the first RPG? It wasn't
No one knows.
D&D.
That's the answer. Sorry if it's a bit anticlimactic, but the explanation for why no one
No
knows
climax.
is pretty interesting.
Thinking
Dungeons and Dragons
stupid.
released in 1974, but this was still 3 years before the arrival of the first successful personal computers, meaning this was before the computer gaming industry even existed. But even though computers hadn't made it into people's homes by this point, they had found their way onto many university campuses in the form of impressively chunky mainframe computers like the
Chunky.
PDP-10. And so,
Damn,
as
that's
D&D became
thick.
popular amongst nerdy student types, some of
That's
those
freaking
same nerdy
huge.
students
Oh my
took it upon
god.
themselves to try to digitalize its rules and gameplay. These games weren't commercial projects. They didn't make money. They were typically open source and sometimes collaborative and highly iterative in their development. They didn't care all that much about copyright, and often they weren't very well preserved, as playing D&D wasn't exactly what these exorbitantly expensive mainframe computers were bought for, and so the use of them in this way was often restricted or outright prohibited by university staff.
Lame.
Still, even if early developers were limited
Lame.
in these ways, there were good reasons
Give
why
us the
someone might want
games.
to computerize Dungeons and Dragons, even though the tabletop version already existed. For example, a computer RPG can be played by a single person, rather than requiring an entire group. They can also streamline a lot of the rule checking and calculations to speed up gameplay, while significantly lowering the barrier of entry. It's also worth remembering that the Dungeons and Dragons of 1974 was very different from the D&D of later years, and was generally much more basic and undefined, meaning there was plenty of room for alternative interpretations of it.
I like the
And so, the
drawings.
emergence
Those
of
look so
computer
flat.
RPGs makes sense, and many
They look
followed.
like old books.
Some of the best
like
known include Rusty Rutherford's Pettit 5,
old picture
and
books.
Weisenhunt and Woods D&D, all lowercase, not to be confused with the similarly named D&D, all uppercase, by Daniel Lawrence.
Mm.
Others from the following years would include Oubliette, Moria, Avatar,
Oblivion.
Orthanc, and more, many of which have
Damn,
undoubtedly been lost
That's
to
crazy.
time.
They had a bunch.
These games tended to be heavily text-based.
They all seem like the
The
same
graphics they
thing
did feature
too.
were typically first-person, with dungeons displayed in rudimentary 3D, and they featured a range of RPG elements, often inspired by or copied from Dungeons and Dragons, such as character creation,
Hobbit.
character stats, leveling up, acquiring
Oh
new
yeah, it
gear,
used to be like
monsters to
Hobbit.
fight that get
But they had to
progressively
change it
stronger
because of
further into the game, and an
copyright.
emphasis on dungeons,
I forgot
which are
about
what
all
formed the
that.
majority of these games. One surprising feature of some of these early RPGs was multiplayer. Dungeons & Dragons itself was a multiplayer game, and mainframe computers were already connected to university networks, meaning having multiple players in a single game world wasn't too difficult. It was from this that Roy Trubshaw and Richard Bartle would create the first multi-user dungeon in 1978, which was called Multi-User Dungeon, and created the genre of
Have you ever
multi-user
played
dungeons.
Misty, have you ever played a
Or
game
MUDs,
where
as
it's
they would
only
soon come to be
text-based
known.
like this, where you type in like go
MUDs
north,
combined RPG
Go
systems
north,
with a text-based adventure
and then it's like
in
you
persistent worlds
run
that
into
multiple
a
users could join
wall.
simultaneously,
I'm like
giving
go
rise to a new highly
west.
social experience that would
It's like
later
there's
inspire
an
the
orc
creation of the MMO genre.
standing to
Although
your
that is
left.
getting a bit ahead of ourselves.
Pull out
Regardless,
sword.
this
It's like
wasn't the
don't
only
recognize.
offshoot that came from early
Like
mainframe RPGs.
attack with
As
sword.
in 1980, Michael Toy
And it's like
and
your
Glenn
sword's
Weckman
not
would
equipped.
create one of the most famous mainframe
Equip
computer
sword?
games ever made.
Don't
Rogue
recognize.
featured turn-based
Use
gameplay with
sword?
a top-down perspective in a
You equip
grid-based
sword.
world represented
It's
entirely
stupid
by
like
ASCII
that.
characters.
They're fun though.
Still, its most famous feature was its combination of an entirely procedurally generated world, unique to each playthrough, alongside permadeath. The two things that would help define the rogue-like genre and inspire so many future games.
Damn.
Still, by the start of the 80s, mainframes were no longer the only computers RPG developers had access to.
So
As
D&D's
in
not just
1977, PCs had their first
the
big commercial
RPG
breakthrough
originator.
with the
It's
arrival of
the
three new
roguelike
machines:
originator.
the Apple II, the Commodore PET, and the TRS-80. These early personal computers weren't cheap. The Apple II launched at just under $1,300,
Holy
and
shit.
that's before inflation.
That's
These PCs
Dang,
also weren't that
goddamn.
powerful, seeing as they weren't designed around the needs of gaming and had more technological limitations than both mainframe computers and arcade systems. Still, PCs did bring one big advantage, which is that they didn't just allow their owners to play games,
But
they
to
also
make
allowed
them.
a whole new audience to make them.
Yeah,
This
that's what
greatly
we
expanded
want,
the pool of
baby.
potential game developers, and it was from this pool that some of the most legendary RPG series soon emerged. Of course, this hobbyist origin does mean that, again, no one knows what was the first RPG developed for the
Lord
personal
British.
computer actually was. But we can identify some of the first commercially successful PC RPGs, like 1979's Temple of Apshai from developer Automated Simulations, which kicked off the Dungeon Quest series and would receive numerous sequels in the following years. It also
Damn.
sold 30,000 copies by June 1982, making it a big hit, which was new ground for the RPG genre. Temple of Apshai starts with a now routine character creation system.
Can you
before
imagine
switching
that
to a
that would be
top-down graphical
successful in
representation of
nowadays?
the dungeon that
Like,
players will spend the game adventuring through.
I feel like
Still, Apshai does reveal a key
I
difference
feel like
between
corporations
mainframe
are like,
and
oh,
PC
you only moved
RPGs,
20,000 units.
which
You're a
is
piece of
memory
shit.
limitation.
You're a fucking piece of shit for not selling a bajillion units. How dare you? I liked when the world was so much simpler. Oh wait, hold on. That's not for you, chat. That's for me later. That's don't look at that. Don't even okay, I'm watching Big Bang Theory. You're not allowed to watch though. That's copyright.
Mainframe computers are famous for giving rise to the text-based adventure genre, and RPGs that followed would likewise feature large amounts of text to communicate their complicated worlds and systems to players. But personal computers didn't have anywhere near the memory needed for so much text, and these memory limitations would play a major role in shaping PC RPGs for many years. This meant early RPGs often placed less emphasis on story than both tabletop RPGs and later computer RPGs, simply because there wasn't enough memory available to include much story without making other major sacrifices. It also meant that a lot of important information needed to play these games was placed in instruction manuals, including tutorials,
That's the hardest
explanations of
part
games systems,
about old
details
games.
about a game's setting,
It's like
and
you have to have a
plot,
leap of
and
faith,
more.
or you have to know somebody
In
who
fact,
knows
the
how to
Temple
play
of
it.
Apshai manual even includes detailed descriptions of each possible room the player enters in-game. All 233 of them, detailing smells, sounds, skeletons,
My
stonework,
smells.
and more. Temple of Apshai was not one of the games I played in preparation for this video, But from this manual, I can at least tell you what the Temple of Apshai smelt like, and the answer is vanilla for some reason.
Smells
Seriously,
of vanilla.
the smell of vanilla is described 56 times in this manual, which makes me wonder if the reward for getting to the end of the temple is a giant cake or something. Another important RPG
Yeah,
from
why
this
does it
era
smell like
came from
vanilla?
a young man named
Maybe
Richard
it's like-
Garriott,
Maybe it's
who
like
began developing games after entering high school on the school's mainframe PDP-11. He was 14 years old.
maybe they
at
were in
this time.
Candyland.
This just happened to be the same year that Dungeons & Dragons released, and the same year that Garriott first read Lord of the Rings, and so he embarked on his own quest to make a version of Dungeons & Dragons for computer, which he titled D&D, uppercase, not to be confused with any of the other D&D uppercases.
But-
Garriott would make numerous versions of D&D, which he numbered, but it wouldn't be until D&D 28 that he made his big breakthrough.
28,
By this point, it was
goddamn.
1979,
Very serious.
and Garriott was in his senior year, where he was also working at the retail store Computerland, giving him access to an Apple II and the programming language BASIC. Garriott eventually persuaded his father to
Yippee,
purchase an Apple II
basic.
for their home,
Let's go.
on which Garriott rewrote D&D 28 in BASIC, with the end result being given a new title, Akalabeth, World of Doom. Garriott sold Akalabeth at the Computerland store he worked at for $20. It came inside a Ziploc bag with photocopied instructions and a cover illustration drawn by his
Dude,
mom.
that's classic
But
old
soon
gamer.
a copy would find its
That's
way to the
classic old
California
game.
Pacific Computer Company,
I only
who
know this
contacted
because
Garriott
I've seen
to ask to publish
artifacts
the
like
game for a
this in
wider
like an
audience,
archive.
where it sold over
I've never,
30,000
I wasn't
copies.
old enough to play games
This
like
made the
this.
still teenage Garriott about $150,000, which is not bad for a school side project. Akalabeth was a first-person dungeon crawler that had a simple go to dungeon, kill specific monster, return to quest giver, repeat 10 times structure. The dungeons themselves were procedurally generated, giving each one a different layout, but gameplay itself was simple, as long as you didn't get lost. More impressive was the inclusion of a top-down overworld, something unusual for the time that would soon be greatly expanded in Garriott's next game. Ultima, released 2 years later, and would be
Damn.
much more than a
That's
teenager's
a
high school project.
fucking like upgrade. God
It's worth keeping in
damn.
mind here what was happening in the rest of the gaming industry in this period. 1981 was the year that arcade classics like Galaga, Donkey Kong, and Ms. Pac-Man were released, and by all accounts, these were great games. But they weren't worlds. Ultima, on the other hand, depicted a vast, expansive map that players could traverse, complete with multiple different towns and dungeons, creating a sense of freedom and adventure that just wasn't seen in arcade or console games of this era. The graphics had also seen a major upgrade since Akalabeth, thanks to a new tile-based system that was bright, detailed, and much more immersive, but also required little memory thanks to the heavy reuse of repeating tiles. Combat was still simple, however, with it usually involving just walking into enemies repeatedly until they die, as hidden
They
calculations
look so
determine how
cute.
much damage you do and receive.
They look so fucking cute.
Character creation was also expanded, but still only
Like,
features 4 races and 4
They're
classes.
just like an
with
angry
6
little
stats that
stick
players can
figure.
now distribute their points into freely. The story revolved around stopping the evil wizard Mondaine, who wields the Gem of Immortality and keeps being a bit of a dick. With more details provided in the
He's just
rather
being a
impressive
dick.
manual.
That's like his whole
Other
deal.
features are also quite typical of what you might expect from an early RPG. Killing enemies grants XP, allowing players to level up. Gold can be spent to buy better items in towns. And most of the gameplay still involves moving through large procedurally
Yes.
generated dungeons, hoping you don't get
Yes,
lost.
my fucking
The
enemy.
food system, also seen
I'm
in
doing
Akalabeth,
this. I'm doing this because I'm a bit of a dick. I don't give a fuck about money. I do this for the love of the game, bitches. I'm a fucking wizard because I hate.
does add
That's
to the
all I gotta say
simulation
about
side
that.
of the experience. And Ultima does get strangely sci-fi towards the end, with the inclusion of both spaceships and time travel. But the importance of Ultima really lies in the sum of its parts. Much of what Ultima did had been done already by other RPGs, but Ultima did it bigger and better to create one of the most believable and immersive worlds that had ever been seen in a video game up to this point. In doing this, it launched one of the most influential RPG series of all time. But Ultima wouldn't be the only series that began that year. Wizardry is the yin to Ultima's
I actually
yang,
have heard of this one.
is what I would say if I thought most people actually knew what yin and yang meant. So instead, perhaps it's best to think of these games like this. If Ultima is about colourful overworlds, then Wizardry is about dark dungeons. If Ultima is about virtue and heroism, then Wizardry is about surviving and winning. And if Ultima is about epic adventures, then Wizardry is about sweaty dungeon crawls where each step feels like it could be your last.
That looks sick,
Both
dude.
series are important.
That looks
Both were
fucking
influential,
sick.
and both would evolve in the future, sometimes even seeming to take inspiration from each other. But even from the start, there was something which set these games apart, and that something never really went away. Released in 1981 by developer Certec, the first Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord, was created by Andrew Greenberg and Robert Woodhead, both students at Cornell University, who took heavy inspiration from the earlier mainframe
You
RPGs,
surprised the monster?
particularly
It's like a little ghost.
1977's Oubliette, and sought to translate these experiences to the less powerful Apple II. Unlike
Oubliette.
Ultima, Wizardry lacked an overworld. Its
Ooble-
graphics used a now familiar
ooble-
first-person
ooble-
perspective with
ette.
3D wireframe dungeons, and its story was basic, focusing on entering a dungeon to defeat a wizard and retrieve a powerful amulet, and being once more told almost entirely via the manual. Still, Wizardry made up for all this with the greater depth of its dungeon crawling. In Wizardry, players created a party of 6 characters rather than just one, and its dungeons were designed to ensure players needed a balanced party that included multiple different skills. Meanwhile, character creation offered a little more complexity, with features like advanced classes and alignments. Combat was also a little more tactical, with each party member having a choice of different options each turn, alongside an impressive amount of spells. And dungeons were a little more deadly, featuring many traps, one-hit KO attacks, and a maze-like layout that required players to create hand-drawn maps to successfully navigate it.
Damn,
Most
that's
RPGs of
crazy.
this time were technically dungeon crawlers, and dungeons dominated early RPG design, but few games embodied the spirit of dungeon crawling like Wizardry did. I've always felt there's a reason the genre came to be called dungeon crawlers, rather than something more upbeat like dungeon adventures, and it's because these games want to force players onto their hands and knees and make them drag themselves through the dirt to succeed. The fun is in overcoming the challenge the dungeon presents, and the high difficulty ensures strong replayability, even if the rest of the game seems simple. And with Ultima's open world and Wizardry's dungeons, 1981 became the year the RPG genre truly established itself. Personal
Yippee, the
computers of
first
the era
year.
may have been
Let's
weak.
go, dungeon
The
crawler.
developers were often young and inexperienced, and these games still lacked key features seen in their tabletop inspirations. But none of these were enough to slow the genre down. Ultima 1 soon surpassed the sales of the already successful Akalabeth, while Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord, was more successful still, selling 200,000 copies in its first 3 years, a massive feat in such a small market. And this was only the beginning. The 80s would be a time of rapid growth and experimentation. This was a time when development teams were small and PC gaming was still learning how to be commercial, meaning RPG developers enjoyed a lot of creative freedom as they got to leave their mark on a genre where the rules were still very much being written. And not just by Wizardry and Ultima. Other RPGs like 1982's Telengard from Daniel Lawrence were instead expanded versions of early mainframe RPGs. In this case, D&D uppercase, and this is the same D&D uppercase as earlier this time. Telengard is a top-down dungeon
There's so
crawler
many
with
of them.
procedurally
That's
generated
funny.
dungeons, yet its gameplay would take place in real time, giving it a rudimentary hack-and-slash style combat. 1982 would also see Jeff McCord's Sword of Fargale, which also focused on top-down procedurally generated dungeon
Damn,
crawling,
we've been obsessed with
time
this
with a basic
idea
fog
of
of war
the
and
like
auto-mapping
medieval
system
fantasy
similar to
for
Rogue,
a while now.
and Dungeons of Daggorath, which provided the first attempt at a real-time first-person dungeon crawler. Still, while the number of successful commercial RPGs was increasing, it would continue to be Ultima and Wizardry that left the clearest mark on the genre, and it didn't take long for both games to receive sequels. Ultima 2: The Revenge of the Enchantress released 1 year after its predecessor, and featured enhanced graphics and the new ability to talk to NPCs.
What?
Those
No
NPCs
fucking
didn't
way.
always have
That's
much to
like
say,
leaps and
but
bounds,
they did
dude.
provide the player with various hints and show a clear attempt to both make the game world feel more lived in and to craft an experience that was about more than just dungeons. Ultima 2 would also introduce a greater emphasis on time travel, with portals now randomly appearing on the overworld that could take players to different versions of that world, and that world was now a fantasy version of Earth, with different time periods spanning from the mythological era and millions of years BC
What?
to present-day AD, as well as a futuristic post-apocalypse.
That's
and
weird.
space travel also returned, and players could
That's
now travel
fucking
to
weird.
different planets in the solar system. Some people criticized Ultima 2 for being buggy and possibly rushed, but one thing that couldn't be criticized about it was a lack of ambition, as it offered a surprisingly creative adventure for a genre that was otherwise still firmly in the hands of D&D. Ultima 3: Exodus would be even more impactful. Releasing in 1983, and this time published by Garriot's own company, Origin Systems, Ultima's third entry brought multiple new additions. The first was that players now controlled a party of 4 characters,
That's
rather than
silly.
just one.
They look so
A
cute.
change Garriott admitted
Fighting
was
that
directly
dragon. They're so
inspired by
tiny.
Wizardry. To go
They're so
alongside
tiny
this, it
little
also overhauled
babies.
combat, which now took place in a separate top-down combat screen that was triggered via random encounters. This made combat much more tactical than before, with players now needing to focus on multiple combatants and manage aspects like positioning. Ultima 3 also made key changes to dungeons, which now
Take a break on that. I need to go to bed, chat. It's 5 a.m. for me, I think, now. Yeah, it's 5 a.m. I just came on for a couple hours just to chill, hang out, and say hi to some peeps. It was good. Thanks for stopping by, Chunks. Thanks for the raid. Neon Gothic, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for coming by, and always thank you, Misty. I hope you guys have a lovely evening. It's about evening for you guys now, though. It's evening time for the homies. Yeah. Appreciate you so much. I hope you get some rest and you have a fun evening and enjoy your potatoes. It's always good to see you, Misty. We'll play games soon, I promise. I promise. Maybe we'll even watch this. Maybe I should save it. Yeah, like it. Like and subscribe. Let's just do it. Okay. Nighty night. Don't let the bed bugs. Meh. Whatever.